When you take a step back, when you create distance, something incredible happens. It's in that space, in that silence, that a man starts to feel the weight of your absence. See, most people assume that attraction is built in the moments you spend together, but in reality, attraction is often ignited in the moments apart. It's not just about the things you do when you're with him, but about what he feels when you're not. And when you remove yourself from the equation, when you stop feeding his need for attention, validation, or comfort, he's left with one thing: an awareness of what life is like without you. In the beginning, he might not even notice. Life moves on, distractions fill the space, and he convinces himself that this is just how things go. But as time passes, something shifts. There are moments of quiet, moments where the distractions aren't enough, and suddenly you're in his mind. And it's not just about missing you, it's about realizing how much he valued your presence in ways he never fully acknowledged before. You see, people get used to certain energies in their lives. They get accustomed to the way someone makes them feel. And when you've brought warmth, depth, and excitement into his world, that doesn't just disappear when you walk away. It lingers. It leaves an imprint. The conversations you had, the way you made him feel seen, the way you challenged him, all of that stays with him. And the longer the silence stretches, the more he starts to compare. He looks around and notices that what he had with you isn't something he can easily recreate. He starts to feel the void. This is the power of absence. When you pull away, you give someone the chance to truly feel what it's like without you. And that's when a man starts to realize the difference between just enjoying someone's company and actually needing them in his life. He may have taken you for granted before, but now, without you constantly there, without your energy wrapping around his life, he's forced to sit with a discomfort he didn't expect. And let's be real, most people don't appreciate something until they feel its loss. It's human nature. We assume things will always be there. We assume that if someone loves us, they'll always be available, always waiting. But when you shift that dynamic, when you create space, you trigger something in him. The chase, the desire, the realization that you were not an option. Your presence was a privilege. This isn't about playing games or manipulating someone into wanting you. This is about knowing your worth. It's about understanding that if someone can only see your value when you're gone, that tells you everything you need to know. And yet, time and time again, men come back. They come back not just because they miss you, but because the absence of you creates a contrast so stark, so undeniable, that they can't ignore it. They start to wonder, was I wrong? Did I let go of something rare? Did I underestimate what she brought into my life? And this is where so many women make the mistake. The moment he comes back, they rush in, eager to pick up where they left off, desperate to hear why he left, why he needed space, why he disappeared. But the moment you do that, the dynamic shifts again. He no longer feels the loss. He feels reassurance. He sees that you were waiting, and that urgency, that tension, that need to have you back, it vanishes. He relaxes back into comfort, knowing you're still there. So, when he comes back, the real question isn't why he returned, but whether he's ready to step up in the way you deserve. Because let's be honest, if he only realized your worth when you were gone, what does that say? If it took silence for him to understand your value, then he was never truly appreciating you in the first place. And if that's the case, you have to ask yourself, do you really want someone who only sees you when you disappear? The truth is, a man returning isn't the victory. The victory is knowing that you never had to chase him in the first place, that you were willing to walk away and let him feel your absence, that you were confident enough to know that if he was the right man, he'd come back, not because he was lonely, not because he was bored, but because he saw you for who you are and realized he never should have let you go. So when he returns, don't be so quick to give him what he lost. Make sure he understands exactly why he lost it in the first place. Make sure he's not just coming back because he misses the idea of you, but because he's ready to do what it takes to truly have you, because your presence is a privilege. And a man who truly sees your worth will never need to lose you to appreciate you. You see, the moment you pull away, something shifts. It's not just about making a guy miss you. It's about how your value in his eyes begins to transform. When you're always there, always responding, always available, it's easy for someone to take you for granted. Not because they're bad people, but because that's human nature. We don't appreciate the air we breathe until we're gasping for it. And the same principle applies to attraction. When a woman suddenly steps back, when she stops giving that constant validation, something fascinating happens. He starts seeing her differently. In the beginning, he might not even notice. He's used to you being there, replying quickly, checking in, caring about his day, making plans. And when that stops, there's usually an initial sense of relief on his part. Maybe he wanted space. Maybe he wasn't even thinking about it. But then a few days pass and something unexpected creeps in. Curiosity. He wonders why you're not reaching out, why you're not chasing, why you're not reacting the way he expected you to. And that curiosity is powerful. It's the first seed of desire being replanted. Now, if you had kept engaging with him, trying to get his attention, seeking his validation, that mystery wouldn't exist. He'd still have you there. And if he wasn't fully invested, he would feel no urgency to step up. But when you remove yourself, when you reclaim your energy and focus it back on your own life, something changes. Your value rises because you become someone who is not just waiting around, and that is magnetic. Men are drawn to women who have their own world, their own standards, their own lives that don't revolve around them. It's not about playing games. It's about genuinely embodying a life where your happiness isn't dependent on his attention. When he realizes that you are not desperate for his approval, it shakes him because suddenly you are no longer predictable. You're not behaving the way he expected you to. And that contrast makes him start questioning everything. Was he wrong about how much you liked him? Was he too quick to assume you'd always be there? Is there something he missed about you? What's fascinating is that this isn't just about physical attraction. It's about a deeper level of respect and admiration. A man doesn't just want someone who is available. He wants someone he has to rise to meet. When you show him that you are not just an option, but a prize, his entire perspective shifts. And that's when he starts chasing. Think about the things in life that people desire the most. The things that seem rare, the things that are not easily obtained. It could be a dream job, a luxury experience, an exclusive opportunity. What do they all have in common? They require effort. They are not just handed to anyone. They demand something from the person who wants them. And relationships work the same way. When a man sees that you don't need him, that you are not seeking validation through him, that you have options, you instantly become more valuable in his eyes. But here's the key. This only works if it's real. If you're just pretending to be busy but secretly checking your phone every 5 minutes, waiting for his message, the energy will give you away. If you're posting stories just to make him jealous, but feeling empty inside because you're still obsessing over him, it won't have the same effect. True value comes from actually stepping into your power, actually prioritizing yourself, actually becoming the kind of person who doesn't wait around for someone else to decide if they want to be with you. And this is where most people get it wrong. They go no contact, not to genuinely move forward, but as a strategy to manipulate a reaction. And when that reaction doesn't come immediately, they break. They reach out, they check in, they subtly try to remind him of their presence, and in doing so, they undo all the power they had just gained. Because the moment you go back to seeking his attention, you reinforce the idea that he is the one in control, that he is the one with the power to decide how this plays out. And that is exactly what you want to shift. The irony is, the moment you actually stop caring, when you truly reach the point where his return or absence no longer dictates your happiness, that's when he feels it the most. Energy doesn't lie. A man can tell when a woman is still emotionally tied to him versus when she has truly stepped into her own. And when she does, that's when his instincts kick in. That's when he starts questioning himself. That's when he starts seeing her in a new light. But here's the best part. You don't need to wait for that to happen, because by the time he starts noticing, by the time he starts coming back, you've already grown beyond the need for him to validate your worth. And that right there is the most attractive position you can ever be in. So when a man returns after no contact, it's not because you played a trick on him. It's not because you followed some perfect formula. It's because in your absence, he finally saw your value. And more importantly, you finally saw it too. You see, there's something fascinating about human nature. We don't truly appreciate what we have until we feel like we're going to lose it. And for men, this becomes even more apparent when they sense that you, the woman they once had access to, are no longer an option. Now, you might be thinking, if he cared, wouldn't he have realized my value before I had to walk away? And I get that. But here's the thing. Men don't respond to words the way they respond to experience. It's not what you tell them that makes them wake up. It's what they feel when you're gone. See, when a man feels like you are his, he gets comfortable. He assumes that because you've been there, you'll always be there. And let's be real. If you've been the one always reaching out, checking in, making an effort, then he's never actually had to consider the alternative. He's never had to ask himself, what happens if she stops? Because in his mind, you're a constant. But the moment you actually step back, not as a game, not as a tactic, but because you respect yourself too much to keep chasing someone who isn't giving you the energy you deserve, that's when the shift happens. That's when the reality sinks in. A man's greatest fear isn't necessarily losing a relationship. It's realizing that he's been replaced. The idea that another man could come in and take your attention, your affection, your time, that stings in a way that words never could. Because it's not just about you leaving, it's about the fact that life moves on and you are a woman that another man will see as valuable if he doesn't. And that terrifies him. Now, here's where it gets interesting. When you stop chasing, when you stop making yourself available, you might notice something. Suddenly, he's checking in. Suddenly, the same man who was distant, who needed space, who wasn't sure what he wanted, is now showing up in your inbox, casually liking your posts, finding reasons to reach out. And at first, you might be tempted to think, maybe he finally realized my worth. But here's where I need you to be careful. Is he coming back because he truly values you? Or is he coming back because his ego is triggered? See, some men return not because they genuinely miss the relationship, but because they miss the control. They miss knowing that they had your attention. They don't necessarily want to step up and be the man you deserve, but they also don't want to see you giving that love to someone else. And that's where you have to be incredibly clear about what you accept. Because the truth is, a man who is truly afraid of losing you isn't just going to reappear. He's going to show up differently. He's going to come back with real actions, with changed behavior, with a clear sense of what he wants and a willingness to do what it takes to make it work. If he's just testing the waters, seeing if you'll respond, throwing out breadcrumbs to see if you'll bite, he hasn't learned. He's just reacting to the fear of someone else taking his place. And if you take him back too easily in that moment, what happens? He gets comfortable again. He reassures himself that you're still there. And soon enough, he's back to his old ways. The chase is over and his motivation disappears. That's why so many women find themselves stuck in an exhausting cycle. He disappears, she finally lets go. He comes back, she gives in, and then he disappears again. And every time this happens, she feels more confused, more drained, and more frustrated because she keeps asking herself, why does he keep doing this? But the real question is, why do you keep allowing it? The only way to break this cycle is to make sure that when he comes back, you don't just let him walk right back in. You hold him to a standard. You make him prove through consistent effort that he actually understands what he nearly lost. Because here's the truth. If a man truly values you, he won't just be afraid of losing you. He'll be willing to do what it takes to keep you. And if he's not, then he was never afraid of losing you. He was afraid of losing control. And you, my dear, deserve a man who isn't just afraid of losing you, but one who is willing to fight to keep you. When we talk about why men return after no contact, one of the biggest reasons is that they miss the emotional connection. Now, I know that might sound simple, But let's break it down because it's actually one of the most powerful forces that pulls someone back into your life. Men, for the most part, don't realize the depth of the emotional bond they have with you until it's no longer there. In the moment, they might think they're walking away from something that's just a relationship. Maybe they tell themselves they need space, that they need time to figure things out, that they just don't know if they want to commit. And yet, the moment you step back, the moment you stop reaching out, stop checking in, stop making yourself available in the ways you used to, something shifts. At first, he might feel a sense of relief. He has his freedom, his space, his independence. Maybe he even goes out, distracts himself, fills his time with work, friends, hobbies, anything to keep his mind occupied. But what he doesn't realize in those early days is that the connection he had with you wasn't just about convenience. It wasn't just about having someone around. It was about the depth of emotional safety and understanding that he had with you. And that kind of connection doesn't just disappear because someone chooses to ignore it. See, men are often not as in tune with their emotions as women are. They might not even recognize the emotional support and warmth they were receiving until it's gone. In the relationship, he may have taken it for granted. The way you listened when he vented about work, the way you noticed the little things about him, the way you made him feel significant in ways he couldn't quite articulate. And suddenly, when you're no longer there, he starts to feel that absence like an itch he can't scratch. This is the point where confusion sets in for him, because in his mind, he thought he wanted to move on, thought he needed space, thought he'd be just fine without you, and yet something feels off. He doesn't feel as good as he expected. And the most frustrating part for him, he can't figure out why. He may even try to tell himself that he doesn't miss you, that he's just adjusting, that he's just getting used to the change. But deep down, it's more than that. It's that he's lost the one person who truly understood him. Now here's where it gets even more interesting. Men don't just miss a person. They miss how they felt when they were with that person. And this is where a lot of people make the mistake of thinking that if a man comes back, it's because he suddenly realized he's madly in love with you. But often, what's really happening is that he's craving the emotional stability and comfort he had when you were around. He misses the feeling of being seen, of being appreciated, of being cared for in a way that he doesn't get from his friends, from casual dating, or even from family. So what happens? He starts reminiscing. He starts thinking about all the little things, the way you used to make him laugh, the way you made his bad days better, the way he felt more confident, more grounded, more himself when he was around you. And the more he thinks about it, the more he starts to convince himself that maybe, just maybe, he made a mistake. Maybe walking away wasn't the right choice. Maybe the problem wasn't the relationship, but his own inability to appreciate what he had. Now, if you've been doing no contact correctly, if you haven't been chasing, haven't been trying to convince him to come back, haven't been making it easy for him to keep one foot in the door, this is when you'll see a shift. Suddenly, he might start liking your posts, sending a random, "Hey, how have you been?" message, or finding some excuse to reach out. And this is where you have to be smart, because just because he misses you doesn't mean he's ready to step up. Missing you is not enough. A man can miss you and still not be the right person for you. A man can miss you and still not be willing to give you what you need. He might reach out simply because he wants to feel better, because he wants to confirm that he still has access to you, because he wants to soothe his own discomfort. And if you fall into that trap, if you respond eagerly, if you let him back in without making him prove that he's serious, you risk ending up in the exact same cycle you just broke free from. So, what do? You hold your ground. You recognize that his feelings of nostalgia and longing are not the same as real change. If he truly values the emotional connection he lost, he will put in the effort to rebuild it. He won't just send you a late night message or casually check in when he's bored. He will show up consistently. He will communicate differently. He will make it clear that he understands what he walked away from and that he's willing to do what it takes to earn another chance. And if he doesn't, then you have your answer. You'll know that what he missed wasn't you, it was the comfort of you. And that's not enough. You deserve a man who doesn't just miss you when you're gone, but values you when you're there. And the only way to know the difference is to stay strong enough to let him prove it. Sometimes when a man walks away, he believes he's making the right choice. In that moment, he may feel certain that he needs space, freedom, or something different. Maybe he tells himself that the relationship was too much or that he wasn't ready for commitment. But here's what often happens. Time passes, and suddenly what once seemed like a rational decision starts to feel like an emotional mistake. No contact creates a void, and that void forces him to confront something he may not have expected. The realization that what you had wasn't just another connection. It wasn't something easily replaced. You see, when we're constantly in someone's life, they don't have the opportunity to feel our absence. They don't have the space to ask themselves, do I actually want to be without this person? Instead, they assume you'll always be there, always available, always an option. But when you remove yourself from the equation, everything changes. He has to face the silence. And that silence is loud. It forces him to reflect on what he left behind. In the beginning, he might enjoy the space. He might even convince himself that leaving was the best decision. But as time moves on, as days turn into weeks, he starts to notice the absence of something deeper, the emotional connection you share. At first, he distracts himself. He focuses on work, hangs out with friends, maybe even goes on a few dates. He tells himself he's moving forward. But here's the truth. When a connection is real, it lingers. It doesn't just disappear overnight. There's a moment when he stops in his tracks and realizes that the void in his life isn't being filled by anything else. And that's when doubt creeps in. He starts to think about the way you used to laugh at his jokes, the way you supported him when he was down, the way you made him feel understood in a way no one else did. He remembers the small moments, the ones he didn't appreciate enough at the time. And here's where it gets interesting. He starts to wonder if he made a mistake. But here's the part you need to understand. It's not just about missing you. It's about realizing that walking away didn't give him what he thought it would. Maybe he thought he needed freedom, but instead he just feels disconnected. Maybe he thought he wanted something new, but now he sees that what he had was irreplaceable. And this realization doesn't happen when you're texting him, checking in, or keeping the door open. It happens in your absence. Because when you pull away, you give him the rarest thing in the world: perspective. The moment a man starts to question his decision, he enters an internal battle. His ego may resist at first. He might tell himself, I made my choice, I should stick with it. But emotions don't work that way. The more he tries to suppress his feelings, the stronger they become. And now, he's not just thinking about you in passing, he's feeling the loss. And here's where you hold the power. The way you handle no contact determines everything. If you're sitting by the phone waiting, posting sad quotes, or subtly trying to get his attention, he'll sense that you're still emotionally available. And when he knows you're waiting, there's no urgency. But if you've truly embraced no contact, if you've redirected your energy into yourself, if you've started living your life fully, he sees that. And suddenly, the fear of losing you becomes real. Because here's what people don't talk about enough. Men return when they feel they have something to lose, not when they assume they can walk back in whenever they want. When he sees that you're no longer waiting, that your life is moving forward without him, that's when he starts to panic. That's when he starts asking himself, did I let go of the best thing I ever had? And now, he's not just missing you, he's realizing that he may have lost you for good. And this is where your power lies. Not in trying to make him miss you, not in playing games, but in genuinely stepping into your own life, in becoming someone who radiates confidence, joy, and purpose. Without him, when you do that, he doesn't just return because he's lonely or nostalgic. He returns because he sees that you've evolved, that you're not the same person he left. And that makes him question everything. But here's the part you must remember. Just because he comes back doesn't mean you should take him back. His return is not a victory. It's an opportunity. An opportunity for you to decide if he's truly changed, if he's willing to meet your standards, if he's coming back because he values you, not just because he fears losing you. And that's a decision only you can make. But one thing is certain, when you walk away with confidence, when you focus on becoming the best version of yourself, when you show that you are not an option but a choice, that's when you become truly magnetic. And in that moment, whether he returns or not, you've already won. Something happens when you step away, when you remove yourself from a situation that was no longer serving you. You begin to evolve, to grow in ways that were never possible when you were wrapped up in the uncertainty of someone else. And when you do that, when you start focusing on yourself instead of waiting for them to figure out how they feel about you, that's when something shifts. Because now you're no longer the person they left behind. Here's what happens. At first, he might not even notice. He assumes you'll be there, waiting, just as you always have. He goes about his life thinking he has all the time in the world. And then, slowly, something starts to change. He starts to feel it. This absence, this unfamiliar quiet where you used to be. Maybe he expected you to reach out. Maybe he thought you'd cave, but you didn't. And that does something to him. It makes him wonder. See, when you've been improving yourself, when you've been out there living your life, getting fitter, happier, more confident, focusing on your dreams, that energy radiates. You become magnetic. And when he eventually looks up, when he turns around and sees that you're not just surviving without him, you're thriving, it shakes him to his core. Because suddenly, he's not so sure anymore. The version of you he remembers, that person no longer exists. The one who was constantly available, the one who was anxiously waiting for him to call, the one who may have bent over backward just to get his attention, she's gone. And in her place is someone he barely recognizes. Someone who isn't just living for a relationship, but for herself. That's power. That's real confidence. And nothing is more attractive than that. Here's the truth. When a man feels like he has full control over the situation, when he believes you'll always be there, he takes his time. He's comfortable. He doesn't feel urgency. But when he senses that you're slipping away, that you're evolving into someone he might lose forever, that's when he starts to panic. Because now it's not just about missing you, it's about missing the opportunity to be with the new version of you. And that's the part that hits him the hardest. It's not just that he misses the past, it's that he realizes there's a future, one where you're glowing, where you're laughing, where you're stepping into your best self, and he's not in it. That's what makes him reach out. Not because he suddenly had an epiphany about love, but because he sees the reality. You're not waiting for him anymore. The mistake so many people make when an ex reaches out is thinking, this must mean he's changed. This must mean he's ready now. But that's not always true. Sometimes it just means he's scared of losing something that made him feel good. It means he wants access to you again, but not necessarily in the way you deserve. That's why you have to ask yourself, is he stepping up or is he just showing up? Because showing up is easy. A late night text, easy. A hey, how have you been? Message out of nowhere. That takes no effort. But stepping up, that requires change. That requires action. That means he doesn't just want you back. He wants to do what it takes to deserve you this time. So here's what you do. You don't rush back. You don't hand over your time and energy just because he finally decided he wants to see what you're up to. You don't go back to the version of yourself that was waiting for his attention. Instead, you make him meet you where you are now. You make him rise to the occasion. Because the truth is, the right man won't be intimidated by your growth. He'll be inspired by it. And if he's not, if he just wants you back but isn't willing to be better for you, then you already have your answer. Because you didn't do all this work. You didn't build this new, stronger version of yourself just to go back to the place that broke you. You didn't grow just to shrink again. And when you realize that, when you step into that certainty, you'll see something amazing happen. It won't just be about him anymore. It won't just be about whether or not he comes back. Because by the time he does, you might realize you don't even want him anymore.